Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Angry Bird Lady podcast. It is very hot in South Africa. I'm sweating, so please excuse the shininess on my face. I will try and enunciate my words very nicely into the mic so that you guys can hear me. I don't have the best mic at the moment, but we will get there. We will definitely get a better mic really soon, hopefully. So with that said, let's get started on my very first episode. Welcome to my very first episode of SA's Dirty Laundry, my feathered friends and my frustrated humans. I'm your host and your resident yapper, Des. So before we dive in to today's episode, please surround yourself, envelop yourself with the wise words of Cyril Rhamaposa. He's a member of the National Assembly of South Africa and an EFF representative. Enjoy.
In the 20th century, Chairman Mao develops and popularizes a concept called a paper tiger. A paper tiger, President, is something that appears powerful and intimidating from a distance, but as you get closer to it, it's harmless, it's fragile, it's powerless. It's just a paper made of a tiger.
Amandla, South Africa, we will get through this. Amandla, South Africa.
President,
Your time is up.
President, the simple point we're making,
Your time is
how
up.
will these
Your time
students
is up.
get employment if you don't want to give them their degrees?
Okay, we as South Africans, we thank you for these words. They are profound, meaningful, life-changing, Mr. Cyril Rhamaposa. Speaking of meaningful, not a single soul, excluding Ye, aka Kanye West. I don't know what's going on with him. Would be delighted by the thought of apartheid. And as for me, while my dad was an extraordinary human, his generosity is basically coded into my DNA, and his love for humans and animals straight out of a fairy tale. He was an advocate for the voiceless. He taught me grace and love, not skin color or culture. So let's be clear. I condemn racism for every single race. This platform is not for hate speech or misinformation. It's only for my sarcastic takes, satire takes, from an average stay-at-home homeschool mom from South Africa that happens to have a mic laying around. So with that said, let's get into this. Today, we're diving into the absolute roller coaster that is South African politics, starring none other than President Cyril Rhamaposa. A man who's been everything from revolutionary to billionaire cattle farmer to that guy who somehow lost millions in his couch. So buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Picture this. Once upon a time, the great year of 1952, Matamela Cyril Rhamaposa was born. Fast forward a few decades, and boom, he's a student protester getting locked up for fighting apartheid. And we thank you for that, Mr. President. Then he becomes a lawyer, a union leader, an ANC heavyweight. Then, for reasons still unknown to humanity, he decides to hop back into politics in 2012. And now, he's been president since 2018, dodging scandals like a minibus taxi in peak traffic. Ever misplaced a few $1 million? Cyril allegedly did. Back in 2020, a massive stack of foreign currency was stolen from his game farm because obviously nothing screams man of the people like a farm where money isn't in a bank account but under your couch. In 2020, $4 million in US dollars was stolen from Ramaphosa's private game farm, Phala Phala, allegedly hidden in a couch. He says it was from selling rare buffalo to a Sudanese businessman. The problem was that he didn't report the theft properly. And instead of, following the law, Cyril's people allegedly decided to track down the thieves on the down low. When the story finally broke in 2022, an inquiry suggested he may have violated the constitution. Oops. But then, surprise, surprise, ANC support kept him in power. The authorities basically went, not enough evidence. Must be nice to have that kind of luck, especially in South Africa. Opposition parties are still dragging him back into court because when all else fails, you litigate. Speaking of cash, let's talk about that presidential salary. Cyril rakes in a cool 3.3 million a year. Chump change compared to his business empire, but still enough to afford some serious load shedding backup. So here are some of Ramaphosa's ridiculously expensive things. A $580,000 designer sofa, because normal chairs are for peasants. His Phala Phala game farm, where dollars get stuffed into couches. 100 million rand in rare Ankoli cattle. I'm not too sure how to say that because fancy cows are important apparently. He's also got 31 properties, including 2 small flats in Cape Town and 29 townhouses, and 7 of them in retirement villages. Is he planning ahead or flipping properties? Who knows? Private jet trips, while the rest of us are dodging potholes. He's flying sky high. South Africans are over here just trying to afford petrol. Let's talk Trump, because of course Donald had to have an opinion of South Africa. When he said to cut US ARD funding, the drama was stunning, even Elon chimed in, but what really set Trump off was the land expropriation. Ramaphosa just signed the expropriation bill of 2025, which basically says government can take your land for public interest. They have to pay you sometimes, but also they might not pay you. So it's like playing Monopoly, where the government lands on your property and decides, I don't feel like paying rent today. But if you look at the other side of the coin, what is happening with South Africa's NGOs? Trump's decision to slash US ARD funding for NGOs was, well, a choice. Cutting financial support for organizations that focus on poverty, hunger and disease, probably not the most well thought out move. But to be fair, US ARD isn't exactly a beacon of financial responsibility. Over the years, it's been accused of mismanagement, wasteful spending and corruption. Millions have been funneled into projects that either never materialized or have had very little impact. For example, right here in my very own country, allegedly about 6.3 million was paid to study specimens of South African males copulating with other specimens of South African males. I don't know about you, I don't know how many potholes we could have fixed with that 6.3 million. If anybody wants to let me know in the comments, do the math for me, how much a pothole costs, I would appreciate that. They once spent 150 million on failed development projects in Afghanistan, including funding schools that were never built. Another 89 million went into the Tanzanian power project that, despite all the spending, didn't actually increase electricity as was promised. And again, back in South Africa, some US ARD programs have been criticized for poor oversight, insufficient spending, and with funds disappearing into bureaucratic black holes. So from Trump and America's perspective, cutting US ARD funding wasn't just about South Africa, it was about reining in what they saw as reckless foreign aid spending in their view. And it was going to corrupt governments and projects that weren't delivering real results. Now, those NGOs will have to get even more creative with fewer resources. So as for the employees, they'll just have to push through no fair pay, no job security, and limited funding. But hey, we adapt, we survive, and we'll thrive in South Africa. I believe that with my whole heart and my whole soul, that we will get through all of this drama before you know it. Finally, to end off this episode, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Rondeboort Road's famous sinkhole. A massive hole opened up over a year ago, over 14 months ago. It swallowed part of the road. And what's been done about it? Nothing, absolutely nothing, just endless investigations. So at this rate, they should just start selling tickets and rebrand it as a geological wonder. So I would like to introduce to you to the future tourists coming to our great country, the great pothole safari of South Africa. in Roundabout Road. Thank you to Mr. Pothole down the street for sponsoring the very first episode of Angry Bird Lady podcast. If you're in need of a pothole, please go to Roundabout Road in South Africa. Thanks again, Mr. Pothole. I hope that your colleagues next to you will also be sponsoring me really soon. Today we've covered farm scandals, financial mysteries, international drama, and a road that's now more Holden Road.
Just wanted to say that I'm so sorry.
So all jokes aside, I do want to tell anybody maybe watching from overseas or anywhere in South Africa that you did not hear about this really horrific story that we do need to discuss. So if you would like more information about it, then I will definitely do a separate little video in honor of that. I wanted to dedicate my very first episode to Reagan, the Chakma baboon, that was brutally chased, murdered, burned, beaten, mutilated at a school. Sorry, I'm just looking at it's a Bottling Secondary School in Dalmas in Mpumalanga. So I am here on the SPCA's website. It's www.nspca.co.za, and there is a 20,000 Rand reward for any information to find out who did this, because this school is refusing to let the footage get seen by the public. So they would know who did it, but they just don't want to tell us. So the SPCA is giving a 20,000 Rand reward for anybody with any information. And if you do know anything, do the right thing, get justice for Reagan, and yeah, please, if you can share this story far and wide. And I hope that this gets sorted very soon. I also just wanted to say that they say here, it became clear that this case is deeply rooted in superstition regarding baboons used in witchcraft. So there's misinformation, myths regarding baboons and superstitions about witchcraft, and I don't know. It's 2025 and we need to be better. We need to teach our children what is real, what is not, what is ou-vrou stories, like we say in South Africa, old wives' tales, all of those things. We need to be better, and this was not supposed to happen. And I will post a picture at the end of this video, and I will give him 10 seconds of silence. So rest in peace, sweet dear Reagan. I love you very much. Thank you guys for joining me today.